Mitch McConnell, I'm told, will say that Hillary Clinton will do or say anything to get elected, and she must be stopped. That will give you a preview of the tone, the content, what the message will be tonight. So it's real politics, real Republican bare knuckles, mixed with some of the family things you've been talking about as well. But we expect to see perhaps a little preview tonight if we get some of these speakers who will want to get a feel for the stage. Kate?
All right, Kelly O'Donnell on the floor of the convention. Kelly, thanks so much. Stephen Cortez is a Trump supporter here in Cleveland with me. He joins me now. Nice to see you in person.
Thanks for having me, Kate.
I want to start with what we've been talking about all day. I know it's not what you want to talk about, but can we play the clip for those who haven't seen it of Melania Trump's speech last night, and we'll put it next to Michelle Obama's speech in 2008 so people can see.
To know that the only limit to the height of your achievements,
to know that the only limit to your achievements
is the reach of your dream,
is the strength of your dreams,
and your willingness to work hard for them.
and your willingness to work for them.
Is there any question in your mind that someone made a mistake?
Yes. Did someone make a mistake? Yes. Does it rise to the level
No question in your mind. Someone did make a mistake.
Yes, somebody made a mistake, but does it rise to the level of plagiarism, dishonesty, particularly on the part of Mrs. Trump? No, absolutely not. I think, look, Kate, you know, I've been on your show a lot. I'll admit when I think Trump missteps, okay? I don't think he walks on water, but I'm going to vigorously defend Melania Trump here. First of all...
But could it be a staffer who misstepped?
It could be, but it's not a big misstep. I mean, look, I'm on television every single day. If you told me that I have to give a nationally televised address in a second language in front of the nation, I would cry, okay? The fact that Mrs. Trump put on the kind of virtuoso performance she did is incredible, and I really believe that the mainstream media and that Trump detractors are trying to use this as an opportunity, a very petty opportunity to try to take away from...
The person who first recognized it, though, was not a supporter of either campaign. It was a former journalist who happened to notice that the words sounded familiar to him, and he tweeted it, and then it went from there. I mean, I take your point that maybe we're all talking about it a little too much, but doesn't it say something fundamental about your campaign that nobody goes through and puts it through a simple check to make sure that none of the words were stolen?
You know, Kate, as I've said many times, are we a well-oiled campaign machine? Probably not quite yet, but that is also a positive, and it's one of the reasons that the Trump, and it's not even just a candidacy, I think it's a movement. One of the reasons that this movement is resonating with Americans is that we're not the Bushes, okay? This is the first Republican convention in 40 years without a Bush here. And by the way, I say that's probably a good thing going forward. This is not the establishment. What he is an outsider, a non-politician, a maverick. And his wife, by the way, is a phenomenal story. And this minor mistake can't take away from that.
But Democrats would say if that's how he runs his campaign, how's he going to run this country?
Well, again, this is a minor misstep. What we saw last night on stage, I believe, was an incredibly impressive immigrant story. A woman who's a terrific businesswoman, a loving mother, a striking model. That was a virtuoso performance that we saw last night. And while the media is going to try to take away from that, I think the American people see through that. And I think we'll see more of that. One of the greatest strengths of Donald Trump, I believe, is his family. And we're going to see more of that today from his children. We saw it last night with his wife. We'll see it today with his children. He is speaking directly to the American people. I believe he's going above and beyond the media. So I don't think this story has legs. I think by tomorrow we'll probably be forgotten.
Any insight into what the children will be saying tonight? Have you had a chance to get a read from the campaign?
You know, no, I'm not privy to that, but I think what they're going to talk about is what their father is like personally, what he was like to them in the home, and then pivot to, because our catchphrase today is make America work again. And America's not working right now. We have almost 50 million Americans on food stamps. We've never had more unemployed working age men or out of the workforce men in American history. America's not working. They're going to talk about how they, as a family and as an organization, have put people to work in the Trump organization and will for the United States as a whole.
Steve, you weren't a Trump supporter initially. You were a Rick Perry supporter early on.
Correct.
You and I spoke earlier in the cycle, and I want to play a soundbite of you, okay? What you said about your evolution on Donald Trump.
People evolve. Ronald Reagan wasn't always a conservative. Donald Trump wasn't always a conservative. I believe he is now. That's very important to me. And I also think, in addition to that, that he has the winning message, not just the conservative message, but also a winning message that is resonating with the American people and speaks to their angst and their anger, but with solutions.
So given that, what do you need to hear from him on Thursday night to seal the deal for you?
For me, and he's already sealed it with me, but he doesn't need to sell me. To sell the rest of America, which is important, and particularly people
and all those undecided voters, because he's not going to win without them.
Correct. People who have not already voted for him and haven't jumped on the Trump train yet. I think, number one, what he needs to sell them is to make America great again, we need to make America grow again. I think in the present administration and from most of the mainstream media, we have been sold a bill of goods that we have to accept slow growth, and that is simply not the case. What I want to hear from him specifically is how do we get breakout growth? Deregulation. We have onerous regulation over our economy right now, and we need a much flatter, simpler tax structure. I think you give those two things to Americans, by the way. America hasn't lost its dynamism. We haven't lost our hustle. What we have is an albatross known as Washington, D.C., which is preventing us from growing the way we should. So we're going to make America great again by making it grow again.
And the Kendall Unruhs, who we just heard from with Jacob Sobroff, who are delegates on the floor of your convention saying we're not being heard.
Right.
What do you say?
I say to that, well, you weren't heard at the ballot box, okay? That was the place you were supposed to be heard. Donald Trump, by the rules, easily won this nomination. So there are some crybabies here, and you know why? I'm not surprised. The establishment, whether it's Republican or Democrat, and by the way, I'm a lifelong Republican, we've been sending Republicans to Washington who go native and sell out to K Street the second they get there. And the people, there's been a people's revolt. I'm one of them. There's 14 million more have said enough. We want limited government. We want Washington to back off. Our national capital acts too much like the Capitol in the Hunger Games, and we need to stop that. Donald Trump is the person to go to Washington and not tinker around the edges, but blow up the establishment. And they're scared of that. And I don't blame them, by the way.
I'm just going to point out that you just called them crybabies.
They are crybabies. They are absolutely crybabies. Look, if you don't win by the rules and then you try to change the rules, you're a crybaby. If you move the goalposts, you're a cheater. And that's what they're trying. It's not going to work. But look, I don't want to focus too much on that. There's an optimistic message here. There's a lot of angst and anger out there in the country, and it's appropriate. But we have solutions. Donald Trump has them. His family is going to speak to them tonight. He's going to speak to them on Thursday, and we're going to win in November.
Steve Cortes, nice to have you with us. Thanks so much. Up next,